Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, Amir Locke, Daunte Wright, Ahmaud Arbery. These are just a few of the many black lives that have been lost due to senseless acts of violence due to hate and racism in the last few years. As we have watched these atrocities being played out on television screens and social media, there always seems to be strong mothers right there leading the fight for justice for their children. One such courageous and strong mother was Mamie Till Mobley, the mother of Amir Till. Mamie Carthen was born in 1921 in Mississippi. When she was 2, her family moved to Chicago during the Great Migration. The Great Migration took place from 1916 to 1970. 6 million African Americans relocated from the South to cities in the North, Midwest, and West due to unsatisfactory economic opportunities and harsh segregationist laws. Shortly after graduating from high school, only the 4th black student to do so, Mamie married Louis Till. They had one son, Emmett. When Emmett was a few months old, Mamie and Louis went their separate ways because Louis was abusive. He had a choice of jail or the Army. He chose the Army. In July 1945, Louis died. Shortly after he turned 14, Emmett was invited by his uncle to spend a week with his cousins in Mississippi. His mother and grandmother did not want him to go. Mississippi was not Chicago. Although racism existed in both places, rules for black people were stricter in the South. Mamie told Emmett how to behave in front of white people. Mamie said in her autobiography, "How do you give a crash course in hatred to a boy who has only ever known love?" One day in Mississippi, Emmett was hanging out on the steps of Bryant's store with his cousins. Carolyn Bryant, the owner, accused Emmett of whistling at her and being inappropriate. During the night, Emmett was forcibly taken from his uncle's house by 2 white men. When Mamie got the call that her son was missing, she and her family members called up newspapers the same day. By the next morning, the NAACP, the mayor, an Illinois congressman, and the governor were involved. Once Emmett's mutilated body was found, the officials in Mississippi wanted to bury Emmett locally to cover up the brutality of the crime, and they quickly had a grave dug with his name on it. Mamie worked furiously with the help of a Chicago congressman to persuade officials to return her son to Chicago. This distraught yet still strong mother fought tooth and nail for the Chicago undertaker to open the box that held her son's body. Then she decided to have a public viewing before Emmett's funeral. As she looked at her son, she said, "Let the people see what they did to my boy." The 2 white men accused of murdering Emmett were put on trial. The jurors were all white and male. The trial was a farce, but Mamie was there almost every day. She even testified. Mamie tried her best to impress the jury. She did not want them to think that she was too aggressive. She did not make eye contact with the defendants. She did not cry because she didn't want to appear weak. Mamie stayed calm even though the defense attorney tried to poke holes in her testimony. When the not guilty verdict came in, Mamie was not surprised, but she was not through. 2 days after the trial, Mamie was on a stage in Harlem in front of 10,000 people telling her story. Demonstrations broke out all across the country and around the world. Mamie was flooded with speaking requests. Even a month after the trial, Mamie was sometimes making 2 or 3 speeches a day. She was still struggling with her own grief, but she felt a strong sense of importance around sharing Emmett's story. She was not an activist, but a mother wanting to help the cause. She told the crowds that she was no longer sad, she was just plain angry. Telling Emmett's story helped her to process the tragedy. Her hope was that Emmett's death would wake up Black America to fight for change. Actually, people of all races were outraged. Government officials across the country received angry letters demanding justice. In 1956, Mamie Till enrolled at Chicago Teachers College. In 1957, she married Jean Mobley. In 1960, she graduated from college and worked as a teacher until her retirement in 1983. As a teacher, Mamie wanted her students to understand the sacrifices that their ancestors had made for the opportunities and freedom that they had. Mamie Till Mobley continued connecting with mothers of other slain Black children until her death in 2003. She made sure no one ever forgot her son's story. She closes her autobiography, Death of Innocence, by writing, "Although I have lived so much of my life without Emmett, I have lived my entire life because of him."